All right, everyone. Good to see everybody here. I have a couple of things to talk about, but I'm going to go on Facebook Live. What was so funny is last week, Monday, okay, we're doing our Facebook Live, but guess what? I ended up putting it on my personal account and not the Cosmic Center account. And so, I know a large breadth, mostly a lot of light workers, but also a large percentage really good people that are not light workers or don't understand this light worker language. But anyway, I said, I'm putting it out there. I wasn't going to change it. I just left it there. But I said, let's see what the 98%, because I think last week I was saying, light workers are maybe 1%, 2%, 3% the most of the population. So I put on there that, was really didn't intend to put it on there, but Mercury is in retrograde, so it happened. And I also said, well, we'll see what the 98% says. If they want to unfriend me, they can. Nobody unfriended me. So in fact, there was a lot of people that listened. So it was very interesting. But it is going to go on the website, on the excuse me. It is it's going on my face on the Facebook page. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Hey, Judy, if you could put your message, if you have a question, could you type it into the chat box for me if you have a question or you wanted to say something. All righty, as everybody's getting on. And again, if anybody's brand new, I know last week we had some new people. If there's anybody new, would you just put in the chat and say, hi, I'm new, so we can welcome you. So now what I'm going to do is Saigon River. Yeah, we have quite but I like the Gulf of Tonkin, right? Yeah, Gulf of Tonkin, because we have the Gulf of Mexico. So we're going to mention those two going forward. We'll mention those two gulfs. Okay. So now, if everybody can be patient with me here. Okay, I'm going to go on Facebook Live. We have to do two different we have to do two different ways of doing this. It's not the one way as it was before, but that's okay. We can do it, but this time I'm going to make sure it's on the Cosmic Center, not on my personal page. Okay, let's see. It looks that way. And okay, right? And Facebook Live. Okay, everyone, we're going to get started here. Thank you for your patience. Go live. 3. Hey, namaste, family of light. Namaste. Baba Sharon here, doing, in addition to our Zoom, our beautiful light workers who are currently present here in the Cosmic Center Spiritual Light, and, oops, on Zoom. That's how prepared I am. We're doing Facebook Live as well. Okay, so namaste, namaste, everyone. A couple of things to talk about, but first I want to say for those that are seeing this feed maybe later on Facebook Live, I know that we do this every Monday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, or I would say 6:45 Eastern Standard Time. We do a little chat. We've always done this from the very beginning, and we continue to do so till this day. We've been doing this for over 18 years. I think last week I said 16 years. No, it's 18 years. Mercury's so in retrograde, but it is actually over 18 years. We work with the Ascended Masters. We're very well aware and conscious of what we're doing. If you resonate to this, you are here to make a difference in the world, to wake up humanity, to know who we truly are, and to bring about the ascension for this sacred and beautiful planet. So with that, I'm going to, okay, I don't want this. All this stuff is moving around, so just bear with me a second. All right, I want to read something, and I want to share something. I had mentioned before that there's going to be a special trip to Arkansas, and that's going to be June 20th to June 27th. This trip, we're going to be there for the summer solstice. This has to do with Atlantis. And this came in. This is not the first time we've done this. We've done this before. Technically, it was supposed to be Bimini, but I'm going to read something to everybody now, okay, that many of you know Barbara Marciniak. She's helped to open up a lot of people in the past. That's the Palladians. Actually, it was the Palladians, to be quite frank with you, that orchestrated to do the anchoring light, actually, even though I have a very strong connection to the Arcturians. But at any rate, many people may know who Barbara Marciniak, Bringers of the Dawn. And she wrote several books, and this is after her experience in Egypt, and she made a connection with a high benevolent consciousness. Many of us know them as the Palladians. They are intricate to our world history, and you could do your own research on that. But very synchronistically, I saw this passage just come up, and it says, Atlantis represents a collective memory of a past golden age and the potential for humanity to reclaim its lost heritage. Atlantis was right here, right here. And if you look at our timeline and the Atlantean timeline, it's all going along the same dynamic, the same evolution, the technologies and stuff. Just as when we can do the, but they got corrupted or it lost its spiritual anchor. And so it did not make that quantum into a golden age. Many of us, okay, hold that collective memory to this day. And many of us who hold that collective memory have come together to say, whatever it is, however it is that in this timeline that we find ourselves in, that we make sure we're part of steering that in its highest potential, the highest world vision. And so, like anything else, there's imprints, past, present, and future. And yes, there's frequencies from the past, different timelines that we could tap into. There are ancestors praying for their descendants to come into healing in the future that'll affect the past. I mean, it takes a lot to open up your mind to understand all of this multifacetedness of who we are. You know, it's like mind-boggling when you really kind of think about it. So you just figure, and I've always said this to everyone, that as you move forward, even the slightest decision that you make, if you're making it in anchored in something that's positive or good, you know, or supportive, that ripples. Now, are we here 100% and perfect? No, by no means. Okay. Do we have a lot of healing to do and come into our own unfoldment? Absolutely. But on our journeys, we start to remember that everything is anchored in the higher vibration of unconditional love. Every icon that you look at, where do they point? They point here. They point to the heart. And there is the higher heart. There is a higher heart of compassion, unconditional love. What it is I say, oh, is that somebody being a wimp? Oh, no. Oh, no. For you to be able to hold that frequency of unconditional love and walk this place, bravo. It takes exceedingly courage and strength, not for wimps, to hold that energy in the midst of chaos, because it's so easy to get caught up in that. And that's your masters you see behind you, the ascended masters, is that they did not react, they acted. So they were not reacting to outside stimulus and, you know, emotional manipulations and all of that stuff out there, which is sort of a default, having a physical, mental, and emotional body. But they tapped into this higher part of themselves, okay, and strengthened that connection to where no one could rattle their chain to the point where they're going to react. True mastery, ladies and gentlemen, is when you act. You act. And like anything else, you have to practice. Practice makes perfect. So that's how you spiritual thing. So I wanted to bring up again about Atlantis. And as I said, Barbara Marciniak, and it's not her, it's actually the Palladians, saying Atlantis represents a collective memory. There is a collective memory, and that's also part of what? The collective trauma. Trauma. Okay, that still is rippling. and rippling into our timeline as well, which is why the message was to go to Bimini. We ended up not going to Bimini because it was the coronavirus, but guess what? We ended up going to Bok Tower because there's a connection to Atlantis with Bok Tower. They have some magnetic anomalies over there, very, very interesting, and there's different pockets. But I wanted to say that now there's actually three parts to this. But the other thing I wanted to mention, some of you may know Magenta Pixie. And Magenta Pixie, she has been channeling, I think it's the white winged, nine collective, the white wings. Anyhow, she's been part of my spiritual journey, this collective, from some years back, and resonated with what they had to say, most certainly contributed towards my spiritual unfoldment. And so I haven't been in touch for, I'm someplace else now. But it so happened that I happened to see it on YouTube. It just popped up. YouTube would just bring up something that popped up. And it talked about, guess what? It talked about at this particular time and the need where people being called to go to certain places on the planet, which we've done in the past, but to those land masses that has their crystals. And she mentioned it being energetically coming to a culmination around the June solstice, on the solstice. So, it's just amazing because it's not just one person getting, there's multiple people that are getting this urge because what? We're part of this collective memory. We're part of the collective. So anyway, I just wanted to mention real quick, if anybody, we have a few spots left. It's a small group, a group of 14, and there's a couple of spots that are still available. If you feel that you would like to know more about this and be a part of this, it's really an important, what is known, I call it divine directive. This is summing coming from higher consciousness. I'm going to say Thoth, Thoth the Atlantean, also known as Hermes Trimethicus, and also Thoth is connected to Enoch. So this is a big being. I've had a personal encounter with him many years back with the Book of Earth. Anyway, this is where this is coming from. This is why we're going to do this trip. For those people that have a sense or feeling or connection to crystals or Atlantis or some kind of a collective memory, then please get in contact with me. You could get in contact with the Cosmic Center Spiritual Light on our website, or cosmiccenterosl@gmail.com. And you could just say, I have an interest. Can you send me more information? I will be happy to do that. Okay, so we are now at a point, for those of us that are awakening or awakened, we were just talking about the energies these past couple of weeks. And a lot of people just exhausted. They're just tired. Okay, they're tired. And I feel the reason why many of us have been tired, and I know I've been feeling like lost in space, like I can't quite ground, like, that kind of feeling, and, so like an out of body experience, and is that everything is accelerating, as you know. Everything is accelerating and a lot of information all coming at one time. It can be very overwhelming. But also what's happening too, and we are blessed beyond measure that we are feeling this way, that we are tapping in energetically, okay, to where we are moving along a higher frequency ascension path. Okay. Now, for those that, then you have the neutral people. They're being affected too. They're good people. They're just doing what they're doing, and that's all good. They're moving along also as well. Okay. Maybe not consciously understanding what's going on versus those that are conscious of what's going on. And then you have the group that's resistant, or the group that is like, I don't care. It's service to self, narcissism, and where that deep thing goes. That is going to be creating sort of a split, and it's going to intensify. Okay, so you're going to have the extreme polarities. Or it's already extreme. You ain't seen nothing yet. Okay, because the energies are just revving up. They're just revving up. There's a lot going on. We talked about, for example, okay, there's always been suffering on the planet. We know that. if you look at the history of the world, okay, there's been lots of trauma. Okay, so as a humanity, we have to work and we have to heal and we have to do all. That's why you have so many healers out there. I had mentioned many, many, many years ago, and when I asked about there's so many different healers and healing, which ones work, I was shown a mirror of 1,000 shards. 1,000 shards. Okay, you think of those 1,000 shards, so you could think about the asteroid belt. What happened there? Okay, you look at that. That's a collective memory that something happened there. All right, so you have to start to go back way into, well, what is the cosmic history of this? Where do I find myself in all of this? And as you knock, I promise you, the door will open. As you seek, you will find. And layer after layer after layer is going to start to unfold. You just reach a point now, for many of us, we know more. I may not be able to explain what it is, but I know more than I did before. And we just have to follow that line. Guess why? Because for those of us that are able to do that, for those of us that say we are here, service to others, we are here to make a positive difference. We have always been sort of out of place. We have never been part of the crowd. Everybody looked at us like we're strange, different, or crazy. We still had to have the courage to be our authentic self, or learn to be our authentic self, to be able to live our truth, because it is so important. Because someone, as Jesus the Christ said, okay, and all the avatars of light, somebody has to show the way, the way. Okay, and that has to do with Jesus the Christ knew uh, esoteric things that the common individual didn't know. And he was trying to explain it the best way he could. And he says, look, okay, if it's too complicated, don't worry about it. Just come through me. I'll do it. I'll do it. I don't understand. That's okay. Because he had the higher knowledge. These are on the Gnostic Gospels, the Pistis Sophia. Okay, way, way, way more, the higher aeons, all of this stuff, which most people don't know. And also, too, that information is controlled. Controlled. And so you're going to come to a point of evolution saying, I really want to know what's going on. It's going to take you beyond this planet. It's going to take you beyond the indoctrination that you have been told. But the information, as I said last week, is definitely out there. Okay. And for those that are right knocking on that door, right on that edge, you have to make known the unknown, because that's your next step. Because you are going to be like that Star of Bethlehem. You are. Okay, if you hear my voice, you're that Star of Bethlehem. Like, where do we go? What do we do? Like, look, that group over there kind of looks like they have a sense of direction. Let's follow them. Okay. I'm not going to be a cyborg. I don't have to be, because I have the internal information within me. I can activate that. So there's going to be a split of that. Are we going to do transhumanism, or are we going to go ahead and be a Borg? I mean, there's all these little decisions. And then the highest decision of all is the discernment. And that's why you can't go by what you're reading and seeing here. Who can tell what's real from what isn't? You have to trust on something higher. Something much higher, just give you the higher guidance to be able to discern, now more than anything. So with that, I want to invite anybody who is listening to this currently, or they will see this upon their feed at some point, that we do have the Anchoring Light Transmission Meditation every single Monday without fail for over 18 years. And if you go into the website, ccosl.com, which is for Cosmic Center Spiritual Light.com, just look at the calendar events. You'll see the Anchoring Light. Once you register, you can participate with us at any time. And if somebody says, wow, that's not a great time for me, just go on our YouTube channel and you can participate that way too, because it is an energetic. It is anchored from the higher celestial realms of light. So with that, I'm going to say namaste to our beautiful light workers that on Facebook Live. We will see you next week's Namaste.